Hello and welcome to today's Dig-In video. My name's David and I'm an interpreter with the Missouri Botanical Garden. In today's Dig-In video, we're going to continue to look at the role that paper has today, and we'll also look at some of the ways that role may change in the future. With more and more traditionally printed material moving from paper to digital, many people may think that the paper industry is dying. When you think of ebooks, emails, paperless billing, digital newspaper subscriptions, it can be hard to think of the role that paper will have in the future. However, despite the increasing transition to digital media, the paper industry is thriving. If paper in the paper industry is anything, it is versatile. The history of paper spans thousands of years, from the precursors of paper such as amate from Mesoamerica and papyrus from Egypt, to the first recorded instances of pulp-based paper in 105 AD China. Paper has a rich history. To learn more about the history of paper and how it has changed over the past 2,000 years, check out the link in the description down below. Today, however, let's focus on paper in the present. The majority of paper products that you see today are made from wood pulp. Think about all the letters, books, notepaper, cardboard boxes, and even toilet paper that you see every day. The vast majority of these are made from wood pulp. In fact, just 10 years ago in 2011, over 95% of pulp production that went into paper products came from wood pulp. Wood pulp can be processed in a few different ways, with the two most common methods being chemical pulping and mechanical pulping. In chemical pulping, wood chips are cooked in a pressurized chemical bath. The chemical bath separates the wood fibers into cellulose fibers, lignin, and other substances. The resulting pulp is then washed and screened to remove any unwanted substances. The end slurry is then able to be bleached, and it is able to be used to make paper. While in mechanical pulping, the pulp is created through grinding the wood chips instead of cooking them in a chemical bath. The wood chips are heated and then fed into a machine that breaks the fibers up through the use of rotating metal discs. The fibers are then blended with water into a slurry, which can then be used to make paper. Another increasingly popular option is the use of recycled materials. Let's go over to fellow interpreter Shawn and Green Resources Manager of Missouri Botanical Garden's Earthways Center, Jean Ponzi, to learn more about the rise of recycled paper.
Hello folks, Shawn Boedefeld here, another interpreter at the Missouri Botanical Garden. I have the honor of introducing you to Jean Ponzi, the Green Resources Manager for the Missouri Botanical Garden's Earthways Center. Jean, welcome, and thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today as we talk about recycling paper. Now, the first question I have for you is just when and why did paper recycling start in the United States?
Paper recycling in the U.S. started during World War II, and the first drives for scrap paper happened in 1942. So these are historic posters from World War II, and you can see there the American woman is bundling kinds of things that were needed: newspapers, magazines, paper bags, corrugated boxes, and even wastebasket scraps were things that people were asked to save. Another thing that drove paper recycling was shifts in person power, or probably more literally manpower, in the timber industry. So many of the men that were working in the timber industry left for higher paying jobs in the military. And when all of this happened, publishers found their paper allotment cut by about 15%. So the next thing that happened was the youth of America got involved, had regular paper drives, and often coordinated those with tin can drives or collection of old tires. The War Production Board started the Paper Troopers program, and you can see the Paper Troopers. So this was an important contribution of the youth of America to the war effort, and it jump-started paper recycling in the U.S. And this process continues today. Fiber products, waste that we recycle, newspapers, junk mail, cardboard boxes, food packaging boxes, all of those things are acceptable in our modern single stream recycling, and they are made immediately and almost entirely within North America, domestic production, into new paper products. mills are using recycled paper to manufacture new paper products in the US, so it's important for us to buy them and continue to close that loop. Recycled content paper uses less energy, it uses less water, it's using fiber that has already been paper instead of cutting trees. And at this point, that is the greenest thing. And this little graphic shows you economy is circular in the same way that when we breathe in, we're breathing oxygen that comes from plants. And when we breathe out, we're breathing out the carbon dioxide that plants need to photosynthesize and make food. Nature, zero waste, that's the model we're trying to follow here. So when we use paper, we print with it, we get products with it, we recycle it, it goes to a paper mill that can use recycled content paper and it becomes new paper products. You always start with paper, you always have to tear it up. And then you do things like run that torn up paper through a blender and you press that paper pulp on screen and you press the water out and you come out with, in this kind of paper making process, a really delightful artisan kind of paper. And in a paper mill, exactly the same thing happens. Paper comes in from recycling programs. It's shredded up and it goes into a machine called a hydropulper, and then the pulped up fiber gets run through various kinds of presses. The water gets pressed out. It becomes very uniform. The moisture level is all very uniform. The color is uniform. And the last thing that happens is that that paper from giant rolls is cut or otherwise processed into the end products that we want to use. And voila, you have paper made from paper instead of from trees. If you really want to do the green thing, you want to find a product that is only going to be used once, made from 100% recycled content. And that is not as hard as it used to be.
Jean, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. And remember, folks, that recycling paper is an easy way that we can all live a greener life and lessen our carbon footprints.
While the vast majority of paper products, recycled or not, that we see every day originates from wood pulp, that is not the only type of paper that can be found. Let's hear from another of the garden's interpreters, Christi, to learn more about artisan paper.
Hi, I'm Christi the interpreter. So have you noticed terms like artisanal and tree-free popping up a lot online regarding paper lately? Well, let's explore those terms just a little bit. What do they mean? Artisanal is a term for anything that's made using handmade, traditional methods and avoiding modern industrial methods. The other term, tree-free, is literally what it says. It's made from fibers other than trees. If the paper is handmade at home and it really is using those traditional methods, it probably is sustainable. However, with some companies you have no way of knowing. There are many potential sources of paper out there for artisanal companies, from obvious plants like bamboo to coffee beans. Even the poop of animals who eat fibrous plants can be made into paper. Many artisanal papers are made from tree-free sources that were popular in other cultures. Chinese people made the first bamboo paper over 1,500 years ago. Since there are no bamboo plantations in North America, it is not sustainable for large-scale production. Another popular substitute for trees is kenaf. Kenaf was adopted from India during World War II. The United States brought it over to use cordage. However, as plantations sprang up in southern states, they started using it for other things like paper. Kenaf has a lot of advantages. You can grow a lot in a very small space. There is the issue of it being very heavy and very bulky, and it cannot be transported easily. So the third and final fiber source I'd like to talk about is hemp. And hemp probably has the most promise of any of the plants I've discussed today. Hemp is a very, very old plant. It's been used for paper for centuries now. Hemp does have a lot of promise because it is a plant that can be grown in a very small area. It can produce more paper per acre than trees do. Furthermore, it actually puts nutrients back into the soil as it grows. And, like bamboo, some hemp products, especially paper products, are certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. Currently recycled wood pulp paper is still the most sustainable option as of this moment. You want to look for recycled paper that is chlorine-free, unbleached, and certified by the Forest Stewardship Council. And remember, even if you're buying small artisanal paper companies' paper, the terms artisanal and tree-free do not always equal sustainable. So what is the future of paper? With sentiment growing against single-use plastics and packaging, it is possible that paper might replace these as a lightweight and sustainable option. Consider, if you will, that only 9% of plastics are currently recycled, whereas 65% of paper is. More importantly, plastics can only be recycled once or twice, while paper can be recycled 5 to 7 times. I hope you've enjoyed this Dig In video. If you'd like to know more about the history of paper or the Earthways Center and its mission, please check out the links in the description below.